Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Toncoin. Now, Toncoin has surprised me because it's the first crypto that I've seen that has been able to consistently put in higher highs and higher lows for at least 3 months. Now, that's excluding Bitcoin because Bitcoin has basically just gone up this year. Realistically, like Bitcoin has only done well this year, but we're not talking about Bitcoin right now. Toncoin, again, yeah, it's done very well these last 3 months, and it surprised me because I would not expect it from Toncoin. Now, I know it's sort of basically Telegram's crypto, and you would expect that a big company like Telegram would try to make its projects succeed as much as possible. But these last few months, it has just been rallying, and I can't really, I don't even know what the cause of it is. But whatever it is, it's working. If there even is a reason for it to be rallying, I don't know. But it has continued to rally. I'm going to be looking at a few bearish and a few bullish sort of indicators to sort of draw from, sort of mainly from, of course, price action, but I'll also just give my opinion on where I think Toncoin is headed. And the first sort of indicator I want to have a look at, or not indicator, sort of condition that I want to have a look at, is whether Toncoin finds support on this white support line or this orange support line. Now, I'll explain myself again. Toncoin has been rallying within this range, and in fact, it's been rallying above this range sometimes, which is very bullish to me. It's broken above this support, but it's never wicked down below this resistance. And these lines are basically parallel, so it kind of indicates that Ton is more bullish than bearish, or it was at least over at this point. We can see we've come back up here again, but we've had a strong rejection at this sort of double whammy level. Another interesting thing that isn't really worth anything, like I wouldn't expect Toncoin to keep playing out like this, but we have noticed a small triangle, then a bigger triangle to test this resistance, a little pullback to make our triangle, and then a triangle that breaks above, and then a pullback, and then sort of the cycle continues. Small triangle, medium triangle, big triangle, small triangle, medium triangle that we've seen out here, and then maybe a big triangle afterwards. But I wouldn't put too much weight in that theory. In fact, I wouldn't put any weight in that theory. It's just like a funny little pattern that I've noticed that might continue to play out, but most likely won't. So yeah, but again, bullish that it's breaking above these supports. Again, this sort of resistance slash support is basically a long-term one. It's been around for as long as Toncoin has been around, ultimately. Like we see, kind of first found support here, rallied around it for a little while, eventually broke down below, spent about 6 months below. We went from May to December here, broke above, we got bounced off it quite a few times until we eventually broke back down again about 6 months later, so 6 months below, 6 months above, and then we've now recently this year again, May this year, broke down below, and then instead of following this sort of orange line all the way down that Ton was actually putting in, consistently getting rejected on, it actually reversed, did like a weird double top thing, had a short-term pullback, and then went on an explosive rally, and again met this resistance again that it was first rejected at, had a very bad pullback, and then an explosive move above, and then we found support at it. So again, very interesting, and a bit of a, so again, to turn back to the initial point, it depends whether we find support and bounce off this guy, or whether we find support and bounce off this guy. A bearish move that you could also consider bullish, maybe, but I think would be more bearish than bullish, is that possibly this is a double top. Now, it's stretching it a bit, but basically a double top, for those of you that don't know, we saw it a lot in the Bullrun with a lot of cryptos, 2021. It's when you put in a high, you have a pullback, you rally back up, and you come back to the same high or the same level, a little bit above, a little bit below, and then you have another pullback. And this basically means that, this crypto has, or this asset, whatever, has tried to break above this resistance twice, and each time it's been rejected pretty significantly. So you can kind of look at it as like it's not a great indicator most time. And oftentimes after the second double top, there is short-term poor price action. Very oftentimes. And we can sort of see that maybe beginning to play out here with this big sell-off. I mean, if we have a look, it looks like it's down about 15% from high to low. About 13%, give or take, is the total move of today. So if you bought Toncoin at its highest and sold it at its lowest, you'd be down 14% on your money, which would be pretty bad. But yeah, just kind of, again, showing that this crypto can go anywhere. And moving 13% in a day, what's to stop it from having 2 or 3 days like that? I mean, currently we're only a 20% drop from here. So 2 more days of that and we're back at this support. 1 more day of it and we're back at this white support. So it kind of, now I don't think it will play out like that, most likely. I think probably, you know, it'll take a week or 2 to get to this level, maybe 1 week and a bit, somewhere around the 2-week range, and then we'll either break down below it or we'll pump back up again. But again, very interesting. Again, zooming out again, we can see that Toncoin has seen moves like this, and we saw a chart similar to this with Cardano. And I know why am I bringing up Cardano, but I think Cardano is a good peg to compare a lot of altcoins to. And Cardano had a, you know, big sell-off after the bull run from about 2021 for, you know, the most part of 2022 up until the summer, where a lot of altcoins put in their lows at that time, came down like Ton has, had a revival up until sort of February of the next year, even though they also had a lot of pullbacks around the FTX sort of time, which was November, December of 2022. We can see Toncoin obviously had a drop here, and it actually never went, it still hasn't gone back above where it was pre-FTX collapse, basically. But still hasn't broken above that, which is interesting because a lot of other alts have gone well above that. And another bearish thing actually that I meant to indicate was Toncoin's yearly open, basically, is it is above its yearly open, but it's considering how amazing it's been doing. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but we're celebrating Toncoin being 40% above its yearly open. Not even 37. And now I know that's brilliant. Like 30% up on your money in less than a year is brilliant. It's amazing. Like you've beaten the S&P like 7-8 times over there. Six times over actually, sorry. But yeah, like, you know, for crypto that isn't amazing. Again, a bear market, so it is impressive. It's kind of how you want to look at it. Again, if you put your money in Bitcoin from your yearly open, you'd be much higher. I mean, just to remind you, like Bitcoin started this year at 16K and now it's at 37. It's put in 37 today, which is like, you know, crazy. To be honest with you, it's crazy. It's over 2x up, basically, if you bought at the low. Now, nobody bought at the low, but most likely a lot of people bought at a price close to the low. Like, you know, after FTX, as scary as it was, and as likely as it seemed that Bitcoin was going to keep going down for a long time, the market obviously very adjusted to the FTX crash pretty quickly. We even saw January, like, price started to rally and kept rallying, which I found bizarre, to be honest with you. But hey, like, you can never predict the markets. I'm just glad I was picking stuff up at that time. But again, not important. Switching to Bitcoin, well, yeah, Ton on its Bitcoin pair, we can see that it basically paints a bleak enough picture. Sort of, I mean, it's just been going down, and only recently has it put in a high. A bullish way to look at this is if we have a look at every time Toncoin has tested this resistance, we see it's only been for, like, here, we'll say 3 days to be nice. We had 1 wick, 2 wick, 3 wick, all 3 rejections, and then spent a month or 2 getting the energy to push back up again. We had like a 10-minute wick up here where someone just bought a load of Toncoin basically, and then price collapsed again, and a month later we were testing this support. Again, like an hour wick up here, not enough time, no time spent up here at all basically. Ages until we even retest this level again. It's another less than a day, probably like 2 hours. It was up at this level for 30 seconds maybe, like just someone buying a lot of Toncoin. What makes this one slightly different is that we obviously have this big buy up, or this big rally, whatever it is, And instead of Toncoin immediately selling off like we often see, or literally just being one green line up, it's managed to put in a few days at this sort of resistance. And we can see it hasn't actually really tested this resistance yet. I mean, it has once, but really it's kind of just sat below. And for me, that's bullish because I think it's stabilizing at this level, if you will. It's got up here and it hasn't immediately had the ass fall out from underneath itself, which I would take as a bullish sign. So again, like a very conflicting picture with Toncoin, but again, like generally on its Bitcoin pair, it's just been going down, and it's very easy for this just to become another wick up, and then, you know, a return to whatever. Like again, it's kind of what you think will happen. I personally am leaning more towards bearish, personally, and that's just because I've priced in, or for me, from what I've seen looking at charts, I like in all of my videos and ever since I made this channel, I've kind of been saying that, in my opinion, I think a lot of altcoin lows and cycle lows will be put in either a few months before or a few months after the Bitcoin halving. And they don't have to be cycle lows, but I think they will either be cycle lows or they will return to prices close to the cycle low. And that's a price I'm comfortable to buy at. So far, Toncoin has kind of been proving me wrong, but I still have plenty of time for this theory to materialize. So again, ultimately depends where you think the market is going. We've seen historically that halvings do tend to lead to negative price action. And we had a look at the last two halvings, and they ultimately ended up being about 60% moves down, but one of them was split into two 30% moves. One of them was split into one 65% move down. So, you know, last halving, we had the 65% move down. This was most likely because of the pandemic, and this was 1 or 2 months before the halving. The halving before that, we had our 30% moves down. We had one basically that happened into the halving, and then we had, after a little bit of a rally, we had another 30% drop a month or two afterwards. So we didn't drop a total of 60%. It was probably more like 40%, but yeah, just kind of basically there's usually some big sell-off points around the halving, usually, but a very short window, and, you know, usually a good time to pick some BTC up. And as we had a look in our Bitcoin video as well, we saw that, you know, dominance will continue to go higher if it's played out like any of the last cycles, which I believe it will do, which means that altcoins typically won't do as well as Bitcoin. So you're much better off holding Bitcoin during that time instead of altcoins. But again, there will always be exceptions. And Toncoin has seemed to be a short-term exception to this trend. And it's cool to sort of take a look at these exceptions on the channel because, you know, we talk about them, but we never really look at them too much and we never really point them out. Solana is another sort of short-term exception for this theory currently, but again, there's still plenty of time for things to reverse. And even though it's doing well now, you know, the whole of the altcoin space is sort of one big shock away from returning to these very low levels. Do I see Toncoin returning to these low levels? I see it being possible. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm saying personally, I can see anything happening, to be honest with you. And that's what I mean. Like, there's no way I can tell you what's going to happen. That's impossible. I can be certain on certain things happening, but not to a 100% likelihood. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Bitcoin will go up in 2025, but there's a chance that it doesn't. Again, you kind of have to take everything with a pinch of salt and make your own decisions based on your own risk tolerance. So whether you want to get into Ton now is up to you, and that ultimately depends on whether you think a Ton will go down more so you can buy at a better price, or whether you think it's going to go up more so you should buy now so that you can catch these returns. However, again, Ton at a high of 5.5 is currently about a 2x away from that move, a 2.2x probably, something around there. Yeah, 2.2x away from its all-time high. Again, there's a chance that it never returns to its all-time high. A lot of these altcoins will never return to these all-time highs. So again, it's just kind of, you have to make your own decisions. But, you know, there's a lot of bullish stuff that you can draw from this, and there's also a lot of bearish stuff. Again, like I said, I'm leaning more bearish, but that's just me. There's a good chance you know a lot more than me. Now, I spend a lot of time looking at this stuff, but that doesn't mean that I know what's going to happen. Like I said, I get things wrong all the time. All the time. I didn't think Bitcoin would break above 30k, to be honest with you, after sort of summertime. I thought that was it. I thought that was, okay, Bitcoin height is in. Once August was done, I was writing Bitcoin off. And I was expecting us to finish the year somewhere around 20 to 18k. If I was going to give it a pinpoint accurate prediction. But obviously I've been proven very wrong, because now Bitcoin would have to drop 50% basically for that prediction to play out. And I'm pretty sure that won't happen. However, I do see, again, the halving causing a bit of a sell-off in the Bitcoin, with Bitcoin's price. But again, up to you. I just wanted to get a video out for you guys on Toncoin. So if you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below if you're holding or if you're buying. Take care and peace.